3,000 of the world's most powerful people just spent a week in the Swiss Alps for the World Economic Forum. 65 heads of state, 830 CEOs, more billionaires per square foot than anywhere on Earth. We're breaking down everything, the focus on this year's event, the 3 key insights that will define the next decade, and at the end, the biggest winners and losers of Davos 2026. This is Boardroom Wire. Let's jump into it. Every January, the World Economic Forum brings together heads of state, CEOs, and investors in Davos, Switzerland. The numbers tell the story. Nearly 3,000 participants over 130 countries, a record 400 political leaders, including 65 heads of state, 830 CEOs and chairs, 55 finance ministers, 11 central bank governors, and 75% of the Fortune 500 companies represented. It's part conference, part backroom deal making, part geopolitical theater. This year's theme was a spirit of dialogue, which is ironic because the backdrop was anything but calm. A lot was discussed, but 3 key topics dominated every single conversation, starting with AI. AI wasn't just a topic at Davos, it was the topic. Nearly every panel, every backroom conversation, every keynote circled back to one question: how fast is this moving and what does it mean? And on that question, the world's top AI minds couldn't agree. Elon Musk predicted AI will be smarter than any individual by the end of 2026, and smarter than all of humanity combined by 2030. Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, went even further. He said we might have AI smarter than any human by the end of this year. But not everyone's buying it. Demis Hassabis, CEO of Google DeepMind, said current systems are nowhere near AGI. Yann LeCun, Meta's former chief AI scientist, has been even more skeptical, arguing that large language models aren't even the right path to human-level intelligence. So you've got 2 camps. One says AGI is months away, the other says we're not even close. The gap between those positions is massive, and the implications are even bigger. Because if the optimists are right, the job market is about to get hit hard. The IMF's Kristalina Georgieva didn't sugarcoat it. She called AI a tsunami hitting the labor market and said 40% of jobs globally will be touched by AI, either enhanced, eliminated, or changed significantly. In advanced economies, that number jumps to 60%. Dario Amodei went further, predicting that 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs could be wiped out within the next few years. He said that changes are already visible in coding. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, warned about what happens when this hits blue-collar workers too. He said if 2 million truckers get replaced at the press of a button and nobody has a plan, you're looking at serious civil unrest. But here's where it gets interesting. While white-collar workers brace for disruption, a different group is thriving. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, pointed out that AI infrastructure requires physical build-out: data centers, power plants, cooling systems, etc. That means electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, construction workers, all of them are improving their wages. Jensen even quoted that salaries for trade workers have nearly doubled because of this. So you've got this bifurcation forming: entry-level knowledge workers facing displacement, skilled trade workers seeing a boom, and the labor market isn't just changing, it's split. But all of this, the AGI race, the job disruption, the infrastructure build-out, it all depends on one thing that most people aren't paying attention to: energy. So here's the thing about the AI race that most coverage misses. It doesn't matter how good your models are if you can't power them. And at Davos, this was a quiet conversation happening behind the flashier AGI debates. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, put it plainly: energy and infrastructure costs are the key driver of who wins the AI race. Not models, not talent, energy. Elon Musk was even more blunt. He said very soon we'll be producing more chips than we can actually turn on. The numbers back this up. Global data centers consumed 415 terawatt hours of electricity in 2024. By 2030, that's projected to hit 945 terawatt hours, more than Japan's entire electricity consumption. McKinsey estimates US data centers alone could account for 12% of the total American electricity by 2030. So the race is on, and different players are making very different bets. Trump announced the US is going heavy into nuclear, describing it as a renaissance with unbelievable progress. Big tech is already moving. Microsoft signed a deal to restart the 3 Mile Island project, and other hyperscalers like Google and Amazon have committed to over 10 gigawatts to build out nuclear capacity. Musk, meanwhile, is betting on solar at scale. He said Tesla and SpaceX are building 100 gigawatts per year of solar manufacturing capacity. He even floated space-based solar data centers as economically viable within a few years. And then there's China, already deploying over 100 gigawatts of solar power per year. Jensen Huang called it the biggest form of energy being deployed anywhere. The infrastructure constraints on AI are no longer theoretical, they're already biting us. Grid connection delays are stretching into years. Hyperscalers are developing on-site power generation because they can't wait for the grid. Water consumption alone is spiking. The average data center uses over 300,000 gallons of water per day. The companies and countries that solve the energy equation first don't just win in AI, they set the terms for everyone else. And this is where you start to see the winner-loser divide forming. Regions with cheap, abundant energy are positioned to dominate. Regions with constrained grids and expensive power are already falling behind. Nadella's insight is the key. The AI race isn't just a technology race, it's an energy race. But energy isn't the only variable either, because even if you solve the power problem, there's a third force that can change everything, and it was all over Davos this year. If AI was the main event at Davos and energy was the quiet conversation, geopolitics was the elephant in the room. Because none of this, the AI race, the infrastructure build out, the capital flows, happens in a vacuum. It happens in a world that's fracturing across the globe. The World Economic Forum's own global risk reports made this clear. Geoeconomic confrontation jumped 8 positions to become the #1 short-term risk for 2026. Not climate, cyber attacks, economic warfare between nations is what's dominating people's minds. And when they asked experts what kind of world order they expect over the next decade, 68% said fragmented and multipolar. Only 6% believe we're going back to a rules-based international order. The IMF's Kristalina Georgieva summed it up in 4 words. We're not in Kansas anymore. But the defining speech on this came from Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England and now Prime Minister of Canada. He didn't mince words. He said we're not in a transition, we're in a rupture. His argument is that the era of assuming mutual benefit through global integration is over. Great powers are now using economic integration as a weapon, tariffs as leverage, supply chain vulnerabilities, and financial infrastructure as coercion. His warning to smaller nations was, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And then there was Trump. He spoke for over an hour, the longest address in Davos history, and he spent a significant chunk of it on Greenland. He called it a big piece of ice in a strategic location between US, Russia, and China. He questioned why the US returned it after World War II and issued what sounded like an ultimatum. You can say yes and we'll be appreciative, or you can say no and we'll remember. Beyond Greenland, he threatened tariffs on European allies. 10% initially, with 25% escalations floated as well. He took shots at Macron. He raised tariffs on Swiss watches to 39% after the Swiss president rubbed him the wrong way. And he announced a new initiative, the Board of Peace, a $1 billion buy-in for nations who want a seat at the table. 25 countries reportedly signed on. The message to traditional allies was clear. The old relationships are being repriced. What Davos 2026 revealed is a world where 3 forces are colliding simultaneously. AI is accelerating, energy is the bottleneck, and the geopolitical order that enabled global cooperation for decades is fragmenting in real time. That combination creates massive opportunities for some and existential risks for others. So let's get to it. Who wins, who loses, and what does it mean for the next decade? All right, you've heard the debates, you've seen the data, now let's get to the verdict. Based on everything discussed at Davos, the AI acceleration, the energy bottleneck, and the geopolitical fragmentation, here's who wins and who loses over the next decade. Winner number one is AI infrastructure owners. If energy determines who wins in the AI race, then the companies and countries that control power and compute infrastructure are sitting on gold. NVIDIA is the obvious one. They're selling the shovels in this gold rush. But watch the hyperscalers building their own power solutions. Microsoft restarting 3 Mile Island, Amazon and Google locking in nuclear capacity. These aren't just tech plays anymore, they're energy plays disguised as tech companies. That brings us to winner number two, which is nuclear energy. Speaking of energy, nuclear is back. Trump called it a renaissance, big tech is signing multi-billion-dollar deals, private capital is flowing into nuclear and has surged 13x in the past few years. After decades of underinvestment, nuclear is now the consensus bet for baseload AI power. Winner number three is skilled trade workers. This one is a little counterintuitive, but it was all over Davos. While white-collar workers are bracing for AI disruption, electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, and construction workers are seeing a boom. Jensen Huang said their salaries have nearly doubled, and AI infrastructure requires more physical build-out, and there's a massive shortage of people who can actually do it. Winner number four is middle power building alternatives. Carney's speech was not just a warning, it was a playbook. Countries that are diversifying relationships, building regional alliances, and reducing dependencies on any single hegemon are positioning themselves to navigate the fragmentation. Think India, parts of Southeast Asia, and potentially parts of the EU if they execute on defense and energy independence. The old model of picking a side and hoping for protection is a losing strategy now. Winner number five is physical AI and robotics. This one's emerging, but it's real. Musk predicted humanoid robots sold to the public by late 2027, and Barclays projects the robotics market growing from 2 to 3 billion today to 40 to 200 billion by 2035. That's potentially 100x growth from here over the next decade. The companies building the physical layer of AI, not just the models but the machines, are positioned for massive tailwinds. So on to the losers. And loser number one is entry-level white-collar workers. This one's painful, but it's becoming pretty clear. Dario Amodei said 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs could disappear. Georgieva of the IMF said 40% of jobs globally will be touched by AI, and not all of those will be enhanced. The people most at risk are those doing routine cognitive work without specialized expertise or client relationships. Think junior analysts, paralegals, entry-level developers, and administrative roles. The disruption is already starting here. Loser number two are energy-constrained regions. If you can't power AI, you can't compete in AI, period. Regions with expensive electricity, aging grids, and years-long interconnection delays are already falling behind. This isn't just about AI data centers, it's about economic relevance in an AI-driven decade. Energy poor means AI poor, and Europe is at particular risk here unless they move fast on nuclear and grid infrastructure. Loser number three are US-dependent economies without diversification. Carney's warning applies here. Countries that built their economic strategy around a stable US relationship are waking up to a different reality. Trump's tariff threats, transactional diplomacy, and Board of Peace buy-ins signal that the old alliances are being repriced. If you haven't diversified your trade relationships and strategic partnerships, you're exposed. Loser number four are companies without data and AI foundations. This came up repeatedly in Davos. Accenture's Julie Sweet pointed out that companies who invested early in data infrastructure like Saudi Aramco and McDonald's are surging ahead in AI implementation. Everyone else is playing catch-up. The gap between AI leaders and AI laggards is widening, and it's not about having the best models, it's about having the data foundation to actually use them. Loser number five is the old rules playbook. This one is a bit more thematic, but it's important. Anyone operating under the assumption that globalization continues as normal, that rules-based international order holds, that trade relationships remain stable, they're playing a game that no longer exists. 68% of experts expect a fragmented world. The capital allocators at Davos are investing based on conviction, not consensus. The old playbook is a complete liability. That's the verdict. AI infrastructure, nuclear trade workers, middle powers, and robotics on the winning side, entry-level workers, energy-constrained regions, over-dependent economies, AI laggards, and old playbook thinkers on the losing side. If you found this breakdown valuable, please hit the like button and subscribe for more strategic analysis on business and technology. Drop a comment, whatever you can do. It's a huge help to me. I want to know, what's your biggest takeaway from Davos 2026, and who do you think is going to win the next decade? With that, this is Boardroom Wire. See you on the next one.